Welcome everybody to Free Marketing Fridays. The session is 30 minutes of actionable advice that you can use just starting today, because we all need to work smarter, not harder. And these 30 minutes are designed to help you do just that. There's no fluff, there's no generic advice, there's no hustle bro anything. I'm not going to pitch you on a course or a paid community, just give you some straight talk and some advice that really works. So today we're going to be talking about email nurturing, primarily for B2B, but also B2C, especially if you have like a high consideration product like home services. I know I am getting new attic insulation in like 2 weeks, and that's not a small purchase. And I've been thinking about it for months and months. So, but anyway, we are going to walk through why your email nurturing sequences might not be hitting, how to fix them, how to know what to say and when to say it, and then how to measure what matters instead of just reciting stats from a dashboard. And then we're also going to talk about how to distribute those insights internally to help prevent any revenue hits or impacts before they actually happen. And at the end, I'm going to give you a download link to get an email subject line testing guide, because if you can't get your emails opened, there's no point in sending them in the first place. So let's get to it. Why should you care about email? Like, what's the ROI there? We all know that in 2025 and moving into 2026, there's this huge just influx and really big focus on ROI. Like, why should we do that? What's the anticipated return? We're moving into an ROI heavy marketing focus. So you have to be able to defend what you're doing. Generally, the email ROI is between 10 and 1 and 36 and 1. That's for every dollar you spend, you either get 10 back or 36 back. It's a big, wide, varying range. But this is from Litmus in July of 2025. So these are recent numbers. So in customer engagement emails, promotional emails, and newsletters typically drive the highest level ROI of all the different types of just emails. Additionally, emails, specifically B2B emails, help drive brand awareness and keep you top of mind. They deliver personalized, targeted messaging. They deliver measurable results, not just for overall list health and unsubscribes and opens, but also measuring through the sales ecosystem if you measure it right. And they support prospects through longer sales cycles with more detailed information, which can help make your sales cycles shorter. And then overall, emails they're not subject to algorithmic sensitivities, right? It's a lot better, it's a lot more reliable than using something like social media in order to kind of get your message across, because you're not battling against algorithms that you have no idea how to combat against. There are over 376 million business emails sent every day, and you probably feel like every single one of those hit your inbox last week. But, Black Friday aside, Cyber Monday aside, like the average office worker now receives about 121 emails and sends about 40 just for business purposes every single day. That's still way too many. And Slack and Teams, like they take some of the pressure off of it just a little bit, but we are still drowning in our inboxes. So the principles of right message, right time, right place are even more important right now if you want to cut through the noise and get your message across in your inbox. So if you're feeling a little bit like you're riding the struggle bus when it comes to creating nurturing sequences or optimizing ones that you already have, you are in good company. So if you're looking at creating or optimizing a nurturing sequence or a lead gen email sequence, you might be struggling with things like a weak pipeline. People just aren't converting into sales. Your unsubscribe rate is going through the roof. And your sales team, like that, a really annoying guy, Steve, in sales is like, we need more leads. We need more leads. Like common problems, right? So it's hard to dial in just right in order to get the actions that you need and to optimize those nurture sequences so that you can get those results. So there are 4 main reasons why you might feel like you're riding the struggle bus with your nurturing campaigns. Number 1, connection. Are your prospects connecting with your messaging? Are they engaging with your content both inside and outside of the emails? And timing. Are they getting what they need when they need it? And measurement. Are you measuring what matters? So you know what to fix if something's not working in that sequence. So I'm going to walk you through how to optimize for each one of these 4 things so that you can have better overall conversations with your prospects. If we haven't met before, my name's Sunny Hunt. I'm the Chief Customer Nerd here at Hunt Interaction. Most companies chase more leads. I reverse engineer your best fit customers and turn those unique insights into practical plans that you and your team can act on immediately so that you can find, convert, and keep profitable customers. I've worked with all these companies, ton more across 15 different industries, and including early and growth stage startups too. Those don't represent here very well, but they're there. But surprisingly enough, a lot of customer growth challenges are pretty similar. It's mostly about finding and filling those success gaps in the customer journey. So B2B is notoriously boring, like capital B boring. It is just sawdust levels of dry out there when we think about B2B. I mean, there are a few standout brands that have started to kind of incorporate brighter colors and more, authentic voices, but you can be the stuffiest, most traditional and uptight legacy B2B brand and still show your prospects that you understand them and that your product or service helps them do their jobs or live their lives in a better way. And you can't use the fact that you're just in B2B as an excuse to try and not forge a connection, which means that you need to learn as much as you can about your prospects. So what we do is we reverse engineer your existing high value customers and get these insights about how they make purchase decisions and then use that in order to create messaging that connects. That also includes your email. So your existing customers are your best source of information about how to connect with high value, good fit prospects. You just need to learn how to extract and use that information. A lot of people start with a customer journey map based on what they think they know about their customers and the steps that they take. It's too complicated. There are way too many steps. There's too many dark things for that really to be effective. So I've kind of flipped the script, and this is where I start. This is the customer awareness journey. Gene Schwartz, he's a direct response copywriter from 60 years ago. He created this, but I use it in a slightly different and unexpected way. I don't use it just for copywriting. I use it for a whole lot more. So I'll walk you through that in just a few minutes, but let me walk you through this right here. So 6 stages that roughly reflect the customer journey. Completely unaware that you have a problem, know that you have a problem, understand that there might be something out there that can help you, know what your product options are or a product category, narrowing down that product category into half a dozen or a big handful that could work for you. And then most aware with high intent kind of breaks that down into 2 or 3 that might win, eventually leading to a purchase. Each one of these stages requires different types of messaging, different encouragement tactics to move them closer to saying yes. And what that messaging looks like and the different tactics and channels that are used are going to be different for your product or service because it's based on what your customers want, not what you think they want. So your prospects will go through each one of these individual phases before they become a customer. Some might go faster, some might go slower, but they will hit every single one of these phases. But because you're using email, you don't need to worry about all of this stuff over here on the left-hand side. We're going to get right to the point. They already know who you are. They've already given you permission to contact them. They are aware of your brand and most likely your product. So I'm going to show you how to take these phases and use them to create a map that tells you when and where and what messages to use and what those messages really should say. And just as a word of warning, because we're in B2B, just because people know who you are and have given you permission to contact them at that product aware stage doesn't give Steve in sales permission to hit them up immediately with a take our demo now because he's freaked out about lead quality. There's a little bit more nuance to it because we know that B2B is a lot more complicated than just throwing down a buy now button and hoping for the best. There are a ridiculous number of people in the buying committee, and they all have opinions, all of them. You need data to cut through your internal opinions and that one guy who's always super loud, dominating the meeting and says that he knows exactly what our customers want, right? No, you need data to be able to point to say, this is definitively what our customers say means the most to them. You need to know who these, and then you need to know who these people are in the buying committee, what their roles are, how they make decisions, why they say yes, why they almost say no, what their objections are, and why they even started this process in the first place. And you need to make the influencer or the person who's running around and gathering all the information to take back to the buying committee, you need to make them look like a rock star. So giving them the information, they need to be your biggest advocate inside of this buying committee. And B2B decisions are made on emotion. If anybody is telling you that B2B decisions are completely logical, they are trying to sell you something, or they're just a liar. There are emotions involved in the decision-making process with B2B decisions, but they're typically they're typically emotions like frustration, fear, anxiety, concern, feeling pressure. The people who are in your prospect pool want to do a good job. They want to make their work lives easier. So you can turn this touchy-feely qualitative stuff into quantified data in order to help eliminate opinions, guesses, and assumptions. There are lots of great sources to get this touchy-feely, emotionally charged data. You can get them from surveys, you can get them from customer interviews, reviews, support tickets, sales calls, and you probably have at least some of this raw information available to you. Go ahead and take it. Look at those transcripts, understand exactly what people are saying, what they're feeling, and really kind of grab onto that nuance. You don't need a 6-month research project to get information and data to help you make better decisions around what your prospects need to hear from you in order to say yes to becoming a customer. You need to know how they make decisions, why they were looking for a solution that looks like yours, how you stand out from the competition, and what makes you different. And it's not just about the features that your dev team can build in the next sprint. It's about the values that make you different and stand apart, how you make their lives better. And then what almost made them not say yes, and the objections that you had to overcome, and the other key factors that went in the decision for them to say yes as a group. You have to get opinions and assumptions out of the room. And the only way to do this is to get data from your best fit customers. But having data doesn't translate into a nurturing sequence that connects. You need to take the data and use it to craft the messaging in your emails. So personalization is one way that you can do that. According to the Content Marketing Institute, this year, 60% of marketers personalize their email messages by adding a first name. Okay, that's a great place to start, but there are so many other better ways to make your email nurturing sequence personal and help cut through that noise. The words and phrases used by your customers to describe their challenges and their decision-making process is an amazing way to grab and hold the attention of those prospects in the inbox. B2B gets this wrong a lot of the time because they feel like they have to adhere to this really strict corporate tone and voice guide instead of borrowing phrases, borrowing words, borrowing positions and emotions, and imbuing their copy and their messaging with all of this really great stuff. This is voice of customer data. So what should you look for? This is an example from Reich. This is a review that I pulled off of G2. So what should you look for when you're going to actually look for those little great nuggets to pull and use? You should look for things like invoke strong emotion. Like when people are angry or they're excited, they tend to use a lot of really interesting words and phrases. You can use metaphors and comparisons. Like, are people doing a better job explaining their problem and your product than you do? Like, grab and swipe that, use it. And then words and phrases that you wouldn't have thought of, like juggernaut. Like, that's an amazing word. That's fun to say. Or essential workflow backbone. That's a really descriptive way to describe Reich. That's really cool. I would grab and hold on to that and see if you see that repeat or see that similar theme or that vibe kind of continue to pop up again and again and again. Because the more you see it and the more you can count it, that's a trend that you need to pay attention to. There are a ton of different ways to segment your emails, not this one big block, but slice and dice it so that the right prospects get the right messages. You can base it off of interests or industries or engagement. Are they active on your list or not active on your list? The different life cycle stage they are, or the awareness stage, the different demographics that they exhibit, and the different behaviors that they exhibit. But you need to know who your prospects are and how they make decisions before you have any hope of grabbing and holding their attention. And if you want to know what not to do when you're personalizing your emails or trying to create that connection, I've got some examples of some really terrible tactics I pulled for you from this last week. Like, this is not how to create connection. It always pays to be clear over clever. And this email and this trend of trying to get somebody to open up your email by using an alarming subject line that indicates loss or immediate action in this way is not only unethical, it's borderline illegal according to the FTC. Like, this is not okay. Don't do this. Don't be that shitty marketer who's like, we'll do anything for attention. No, this is not the way to do that. This is an example from B2C, and yes, this is from Base, and they are one example. This was a trend that I saw popping up by multiple companies over this last week. Do not do this. You are going to erode your customer trust, and you are going to lose out on you're going to lose more than you gain if you take on this tactic. Something kind of similar to this, it's a little kind of borderline gray area from an ethical standpoint. But this email basically says, like, we got a lot of attention from our last sale, and so we're going to extend it. Like, did you really? Probably not. 99% of the time, they already have this kind of sale pre-planned. So they're not going to be just off the cuff, just like, oh, hey, we got this great reaction to our sale, so we're going to extend it. That doesn't happen very often. And then Thrivecart, they are using scarcity and a countdown clock to drive attention to their deals, which is great. Like they're giving me reasons to believe in the value proposition and everything like that. And hey, we want you to upgrade. We want you to buy this particular product, and here's how much time you have in order to take care of this or to take advantage of this sale. Fantastic. But then they kept sending it. And then they send this one. And then they send this one. Right? So they kept beating me over the head with basically the same message with a different subject line and essentially no additional information in the email. There are no additional reasons to believe. There's no social proof. There's no different ways to actually think about why this product is better than the other one. They had an opportunity to do a lot more than just copy and paste 4 different emails across a span of like 3 days. They kind of missed out. Your nurture sequences are the start of your conversations, not the end. So here's what happens a lot of the time. Someone comes to your website, they fill out your form, they download whatever it is, you send a thank you email, and then you follow up with like 1 or 2 product emails, and then you just kind of drop them into the newsletter cycle. And the newsletter is all content about like new feature announcements, so-and-so speaking at this conference, and just kind of recycled press releases. Boring. I mean, it's a great place to start. If you're just starting out with lead nurture sequences, yes, do this. This is an amazing place to start, but you can't stop here. You have an opportunity to create more and better conversations, not only through personalization, but by intentionally building in opportunities for engagement beyond the email that just landed in their inbox. So email is the invitation, inviting prospects into other areas of your sales ecosystem and deepening that relationship. Ultimately, that's the goal. You want to deepen that relationship and establish trust. You need to give your prospects a reason to believe that you have their best interests in mind, that you actually deliver value, and building engagement into your nurturing sequences is another way to show that versus just telling that. So a couple ways to build an engagement into your nurturing sequences. You can directly ask for feedback in your emails. So for instance, Kit is moving to a completely different customer focus. Like they're like, we're going to move into the creator market, and regular marketers, like, you're out. I'm one of those people that's out. So you'll probably get a different email type from me in the next couple of months because I got to switch. But in their announcement email, they specifically asked for feedback, and I didn't have to fill out a form. I just had to reply to the email. Fantastic. You can also use the personal connection, the personalization you already established through your voice of customer data, offers, segmentation. This is an example from Delta. It takes your standard MPS email and makes it a little bit more personal. You can reply directly to the Chief Customer Experience Officer. There's not this no reply at delta.com email address. And yeah, this is a B2C example, but you can take what you see in other industries, and if it matches what you are doing and your product and your customer's intent, steal the idea and use it for yourself. It works great. DHL supply chain, DHL North American supply chain. Remember when I talked about like that really traditional B2B brand? This is it. So they did personalized outreach to prospects who were attending a Gartner event. They offered them a special invite to a little side quest event that they were hosting during the show. And this was sent directly from someone on the sales team. So again, no reply to or no reply email addresses. It goes directly back to the sales guy. So there are lots of ways to extend relationships beyond the inbox. You can also create engagement loops with prospects where encouraging one action informs the next action in the next email. It's like a conversation that gets smarter with every exchange. So Canvas sent out an email with like early access to features. You just had to click through, do a couple things on their website, and it unlocked a whole bunch of new stuff for you. The next email is like, hey, good job, high five. You're like number 435,000 person who did this. And then the next email is, now here's how to use that feature. So every email gets more and more specific that you go through. More traditional example is Gartner. I am deep in Gartner's engagement loops. I'm just going to say that. So they are great at building in engagement loops. They sent me an email with a whole bunch of lists of different webinars. Click through, re-verify your email address, and then you can watch an on-demand webinar. It's not a live thing, it's just on demand. So they're recycling their content at the same time. And then they give me an asset that I can download that has a really strong call to action to become a client. So remember, you're building relationships with humans, not email addresses. So ask yourself, how can we be helpful? How can we help make their lives and their jobs easier? And so that they can remember us when the time comes for them to say yes to us. Everything always seems to come down to timing. It's It's not the right time. It's the absolute best time. It was the worst of times, right? You also have time-bound goals that you need to achieve. And so do your prospects. So think about the prospect who's like, we've been given this project by leadership. We have to go find a new CMS tool in Q2. Oh, okay. So that's time bound and they have to find that vendor. That's the first step in that big project, right? So they have time bound goals as well. Timing is always everything. But because your prospects run on their own timelines, they can't or don't make purchase decisions based off your content calendar. And it's really hard to keep this in mind when you're feeling the pressure to perform and try to make some magic happen. But there is no golden rule for send times or the number of emails in a nurture sequence. You might have different segments that need different timing and different numbers of emails to get your message through. And you have to lean on your existing customers and the data and the responses that you're getting from their sequences to tell you what that pacing should look like. And then you have to test and tweak as you go. Because here's the crappy thing. 95% of your market isn't ready to buy at any given time. Like, this is hard. And additionally, according to Forrester, 86% of B2B deals are going to stall out at some point during the process. So that person who's looking for that new CMS tool in Q2, they might get stalled out and then have to wait until Q3 because something else internally happened or they had to pivot or somebody got fired or something happened inside the business that kind of extended that timeline. Stuff happens. We have to adapt, right? So this makes planning well-timed nurture sequences like even harder. This means that your perseverance and your tenacity are going to be your best friends. Sure, you may have some seasonality to work with that's really dependable, like budgets renew at a specific time and everyone buys at this particular time. That's fantastic. Sometimes that doesn't happen though. So just throwing your prospects into your regular newsletter rotation isn't going to help develop those relationships and build trust in the same way that a personalized email sequence would. So how do you know what message to send and when to get a hold of your prospect's attention? Those little bubbles of that customer awareness map that I talked about a few minutes ago. So instead of a customer journey map, which I used to do, they were pain, they were big, they were beefy. This is a lot better. This is based off of the decision-making process that your customers make. So it's not going to match your CRM, and Steve in Sales is going to really kind of feel some way about this, but that's okay. So this outlines each stage your prospects work through on the way to becoming customers and outlines their intent, goals, messages that resonate, the types of content they need to hear, the formats they prefer, and the channels where they participate and the KPIs to measure effectiveness. Email is obviously a very key point in this, from product aware, most aware, and most aware with high intent. This map is basically a Rosetta Stone for getting in front of your customers with messages that resonate. It's based off of data that you get from your customers, understanding of your buying committee and how they make decisions, and then applied to that customer awareness map and what you're currently doing. So it helps you map out not only the messages, but the pacing that you need for your nurturing campaigns. So let me zoom in a little bit closer on a particular stage and break this down, because this is all anonymized information that I've intentionally anonymized. I produce these for my clients all the time, and so I just kind of anonymized one of them. Here's how this works in practice. Let's take the product aware stage. They've downloaded their thing. They're starting to get emails from you. What do they want at this stage? They want education about your product. They want to know how this product is better than every other product that they're currently looking at. It's not just features, but it's the outcomes. How are you going to make my life better? The messages are all about delivering value. This is the value we deliver. This is why we're different, and this is why you should care. The content supports the product value specifically. So that's the different types of content formats, whether or not your prospects want white papers, they want case studies, they want emails, they want social media posts. What do they want? That's the content format that needs to be in that delivery mechanism. And the channels, what channels do they use? Are they email primarily? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Instagram? What does that look like? Only they can tell you. And then the KPIs. These metrics, or this measurement, shows readiness to move to the next phase to get closer to yes. And identifying these KPIs can be a little bit tricky, but it's based off of what your customer's behavior looks like. So when you're planning out your email nurturing sequences, you need to ask yourself 3 questions. You're like, okay, great. We're going to deal with the product aware stage. People are starting to compare us. It's their first time downloading. Here's our email nurture sequence for this phase. Ask yourself, is this email helpful? At this point in their journey, does it help move their decision forward? Does this email continue to build trust? Does it give them reasons to believe that we're the best solution? And are we sending this email because the timing is right or because it's Tuesday and our content calendar says we need to? Emails filled with a ton of vanity metrics. And yeah, we need to keep track of those because we need to monitor our list health. That's great. But when we pull stats from a dashboard and recite those, it makes us feel like we're doing a good job, but it doesn't measure the impact to the business. It doesn't tell you, and it doesn't give you leading indicators that something is wrong in the sales pipeline so that you can jump in and kind of correct that. And it doesn't help nurture a relationship towards a sale. So here's what we're talking about. Knowing that you have a 31% open rate on an email doesn't tell you anything about how you're supporting the relationship to that prospect. Even when you map those individual emails to MQLs or SQLs, it's still not showing you the value of the content and the engagement of your overall nurturing efforts. It takes a little bit more lift, a little bit more time, but I'm going to show you a better way to do this. Taking that awareness map and zooming in on those KPIs, when you start measuring these over time, they will become an early warning system that something is going sideways and needs your attention, or that something is going really, really right. So KPIs assigned to a particular stage should support moving that prospect closer to saying yes. So ask yourself, what information do they need at that stage to convince them to get closer to saying yes? So in this example, we've identified that our prospects really like case studies. When they read case studies and engage with case study content, they move closer to saying yes. So we've identified case studies and engagement of those case studies as a KPI. So when you see a 15% decrease in case study engagement month over month, asking yourself, so what, can help uncover what those problems are. Because email nurturing is a key content delivery system. So you have a tool to make adjustments in your nurture sequences and see a larger impact beyond the performance of a single email when you look at these KPIs and those different phases. So one email doesn't tell you a whole lot. A trend from a larger content consumption aspect tells you a lot more. So it's not just enough to list out the KPIs. You also need to follow up the question with, so what? You have to do the work to translate those changes over time into recommendations and insights that are shareable with different teams and your leadership. So instead of just pushing out another dashboard, you have an opportunity to create a quick insights brief that gives recommendations and highlights trends over time. And you do it by answering two questions. Here's what changed, and here's what we should watch, or here's why we should care. So when you say, here's what changed, we saw a 15% drop month over month in case study engagement. Here's what we should watch. Because of this drop, we should watch for a change in future signals of downloads and buying guides, because that's like the next phase. Or we need to go through and assess whether or not the content and the industries in those case studies is actually matching our prospects' preferences. That's it. Those two things, what changed and why we should care. Your team gets actionable intel that answers concerns, and you get to kind of look like a little bit of a rock star. When you're thinking about optimizing your email nurture sequences, here's the bottom line. Humans are messy. We are emotional. We change our minds. We get distracted. We're overwhelmed. And ultimately, we just want to feel heard and understood. And the more you can show your prospects that you know who they are, you know their worries, and your product or service can help them, the better your odds are that you're going to get a yes decision instead of just getting ghosted. But to do this, you have to be able to cut through the noise. So optimizing your email nurture sequences is a puzzle, but it's not an impossible one to solve. You need to know who your customers are because they are the key to understanding who your prospects are. Your customers have already made the decision and they're invested. They paid you money. They want to see you win. You also need to recognize that email is not a silo. It is part of a bigger ecosystem and it doesn't stand alone. And that timing is everything and your persistence will pay off. And when you measure what matters, you can proactively get ahead of problems and identify opportunities. And as a final thought, creating great email nurturing sequences, it's not a subject line problem. It's not a send time problem. This is we forgot our emails are actually supposed to help our humans opportunity. So thank you so much. This is all the time that we have today for Free Marketing Fridays. I am going to put this link in the chat for everybody. As promised, it's a subject line testing guide. It has over 50 different subject line variations, best practices for A/B testing, and a 10-week framework so that you can test and optimize your subject lines to get the most out of your open rates. Because if no one's opening your emails, they're not going to work. And that's literally the only job of a subject line, is to get your emails opened. So if you are watching this on the replay and found this helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up or leave a comment. And if you really liked it, if you could share this with someone you think could get some value out of this, that would be great. Thanks again for attending Free Marketing Fridays. I'm going to see you next time, and that will be in 2026. So have a fantastic holiday and a great new year, everybody.